Well, let's finish up with Undertaker, Kane, and what happened with the Wyatts yesterday, because a lot of people online, from what I read, were not happy at all at the fact that the Wyatts pretty much got jobbed out yesterday by the Undertaker and Kane. And we're not talking about regular sized guys. We're talking about behemoths in, Eric Rowan, Luke Harper, Braun Strowman, and Bray Wyatt is not a tiny little guy either. I mean, Undertaker and Kane, look, it was all about celebrating the Undertaker yesterday. Yes, he's around 25 years. It's an accomplishment. The guy has had unbelievable matches throughout his career. When the only thing that bothers me is that when I hear over and over fed to me that it's amazing that The Undertaker is still doing it at this age, I'm saying to myself, he's wrestling 2 or 3 times a year.
He's had a lot of time off, guys.
Yeah, he's had a lot of time off. I mean, he's wrestled, 4 matches or 5 matches in 3 years? If you're going to feed me the line that, it's amazing that he said, look, it's cool.
He's not 90. He's 50. He's not 90.
It's cool. I would replace the word amazing or unreal with
maybe
the word,
admirable would be a good word.
The word cool is what you should use. Yeah. It is cool to see The Undertaker still in action. It's really
He's one
enjoyable.
of the true last old school guys.
Yeah. But
he really is. He's from a gone generation.
He still has it. It's nice to see him around still, but when they overhype it the way they do, that's not Undertaker's fault. But when they overhype it the way they do, I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, 4 matches in 3 years, and you're telling me it's unbelievable. 25 years, still going strong, still amazing. I'm like, what is he, 73 years old? Wrestlers have wrestled 40-year careers. I mean, they didn't have some of the brutality the Undertaker he did, but let's be honest, from 1990 until 1997, what did Undertaker really do in his matches? Before he started brawl, and that's the thing too. Where the fuck is all, they calling Mick Foley to have Mick Foley do these interviews on the network talking about Undertaker's career? Undertaker didn't start really getting massively physical until he fought Foley. I mean, he had matches with Sid and Kevin Nash and Yokozuna and Papa Shango and everybody else. But you watch Undertaker's matches, the reason why Undertaker is still around and the reason why Hulk Hogan could wrestle from 1976 or 77, whatever it was, until 2000. Wait a minute. When did Hogan debut? What year?
Hogan debuted in 77, actually.
77. Hogan's last real, even part-time career was, let's say, 2008? For the most part, 2008, let's say. Even if we go 2005. Let's even go down to 2005. So 1977 to 2005, if my math is correct, is 28 years. I think that's a little bit longer than The Undertaker. And yes, The Undertaker wrestled for a couple of years before becoming The Undertaker. My point is, when Hogan was still wrestling and doing Mr. America and doing everything it wasn't, oh my God, it's unbelievable. He's still wrestling after all these years. I mean, yes, Hogan didn't have Hell in a Cells and Hogan didn't have the WrestleMania matches that Undertaker had. But, Undertaker's wrestled 4 matches or 5 matches in 3 years. If you're going to say it's unbelievable, he's still in the ring, he can't believe it, it's that. Have more than 1 match a year. Like I said, I'm happy the Undertaker's still around. But instead of using the word amazing, use the word cool or something sort of the same. It's great to see Undertaker still doing it. It's refreshing. It's cool. It's awesome. It's not amazing. Because you look at that match yesterday, he didn't really do all that much to destroy 4 behemoths in the Wyatt family.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I don't know, what's your take on it? We got them yesterday. We don't know when Undertaker's going to be around again. What do you think?
I know when he's going to be around when he accepts his Hall of Fame nomination. Brothers of Destruction are a legendary team, and these young guys, when it's time to be fed to the senior citizens, that's what's done. I mean, it's, you know, I guess you want to call it a time-honored tradition, as it is a time-honored tradition for them to return the favor and do the job when called upon. Then during the big grand stage, they have to pay the dupes to the fucking senior guys. I mean, it works both ways. I mean, there's a lot of time-honored traditions in wrestling. Some are still abided by, some are not. But I think that you know, no one wanted to see the brother. You know, there's certain forgiveness things, and I think, you know, some people can be mad about it, but for the most part, everyone, including young fans, including 10-year-olds to 55-year-olds, know the importance that the Undertaker has in this company.
Yes.
His history of one of the only guys who could have left during that WCW big money paydays for millions of dollars. He didn't go. Twice he could have left. He didn't. He stayed loyal. Him and Shawn Michaels stayed very loyal to Vince McMahon. They got to be admired for that. Taker more than Michaels, because Michaels was a real pain in the ass behind the scenes. Taker was always a locker room leader and a cool cat. And the most consistent, successful gimmick character of all time. You know, this is a guy who's, you know, you talk about the Babe Ruth or the, you know, Derek Jeters of baseball. I mean, Undertaker is up there, man. He really is, and he was a gimmick guy who could work, and he's a big, large man, you know, and he changed his style over the years. He wasn't doing these, you know, Hell's Gates or whatever. You remember Don Tony when he was very methodical, and, you know, it took him, you know, he was basically acting like Michael Myers, you know, when he first came out. You know, when he got hit, he'd do the look, and people still pop for that stuff, and he'd go on the ropes and do old school that the spoiler taught him. The Undertaker is just a classic. I mean, he's like a classic model car, and we can joke about him looking like Christopher Lloyd, but everyone has immense respect for the Undertaker. I think only really, you know, a wise ass like CM Punk will say something snide about him, or maybe a guy like Paul London, but really everyone knows that that's just sour grapes. For the most part, everybody respects the Undertaker. Even fans who aren't big fans of his never bash him. Very rare you get someone who goes on a tangent about hating on the Undertaker. You ever notice that?
Yeah, no, I know. Let me ask you this: with all of the tributes that WWE has put on the network, and all the interviews that they have on the network, and every other commercial is, you know, the Undertaker's music, and all the mention the last couple of weeks, do you get the feeling that the emotion about the Undertaker celebrating 25 years is more in the eyes of the staff, wrestlers, workers, and employees of WWE and friends, and not necessarily the fans? I mean, the fans appreciate the Undertaker, and the fans are celebrating 25 years just along with everybody else. But I get the sense that a lot of the tributes that are out there is more of the staff expressing their love for Undertaker, and not necessarily the fans on the same level. And my point is that if WWE did not put the amount of tributes and you know, interviews and matches, things like they did on the network the last 2 weeks, I don't know if fans would be talking as much about the Undertaker. I feel that a lot of the emotion that's being displayed is his fellow friends and fellow workers and employees of WWE, and not necessarily the fans. The fans
I think you're right. I agree with you, but I think also that's where the schooling and the, hey, this man, pay attention, you know, youngsters out there, this is a guy who set to the foundation. This is a guy who, you know, in, you know, 89, 90, when you were like, you know, a lot of you guys were basically on the rug learning how to crawl. This guy was, you know, a big name in this business, and just, you know, starting out or helping build the foundation, which was to become the juggernaut that WWE became. You know, he's one of the last of the Mohegans. This is your history. This is you know, landmark stuff. And it's not going to happen again in your lifetime. You're not going to see. Let's all be realistic, and there's nothing to debate. There's nothing to write me about. There's nothing to write down talking about. You're not going to see. It is not going to happen that the Dean Ambrose, not Roman Reigns, not Cesaro, not Kevin Owens, is going to be in this company and a top guy for 25 years. Am I correct, Anton?
I agree. Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. They're lucky if they make 7 to 9 years. Yeah. Lucky. Okay? It's not going to happen in our lifetime. Forget the WrestleMania record. We're talking about top guy from the time you walked in the goddamn door, and you won a belt within a year and beat Hulk Hogan a year later, and then you beat almost everyone in the company. Granted, it's a work, but we're talking about a character that just was a mythical character, and he played it beautifully. He lived the gimmick outside of the ring. He was very reclusive. He was almost like the Undertaker lived almost like the way Kiss did. You remember in the 70s, Don Tony, where you couldn't catch them without the gimmick? Mm-hmm. And Taker was really good at it. And, he lightened up. You can catch him if you YouTube some clips of him doing commercials and being with his wife and stuff. Because he's not a dead man. It's a gimmick. We get it. But even not going to the Hall of Fame, my God, the guy played the character to the Hilton that he wouldn't do until Paul Bearer died. That he wasn't making appearances because it wasn't right for the gimmick. I mean, come on, who still does that? Now, you can kind of look at the side of your mouth about something like that, like, oh, come on, Taker, be at the Hall of Fame. You can't be at the Hall of Fame because you can be on camera because you're the dead man. But in another way, you say, wow, this guy is so old school. It's like, you got to love it. He's so fucking, like an old school mafia guy telling stories, and you kind of think he's the coolest guy going, and he tells you about the way it is and the way I do things. And you got to like that. You got to kind of dig it. It's admirable. Women like it, guys like it, and kids are taught like by their father. Oh, the Undertaker, this is a good guy. This is a guy. You got to watch this guy's matches. So it's history, and I think that, like I said, very rare. You'd have to show me. I don't recall, and believe me, there has been a wrestler who got torn a new asshole on every podcast. But it's hard to really rip apart even his light schedule. If that's what he needs with his injuries, he's a very large man. And like you said, we don't see too many 6'10" giant white guys walking around in their 60s or 70s. These guys don't, and I'm not being, morbid. These guys don't live very long. This guy has gotten the most out of his life for a large giant of a man. He's accomplished a lot. And, talk about, and we know that some people look at the Hall of Fame as, because look who's in it. But if there's a Hall of Fame wing created for a character, you have to admit, Don Tony, Undertaker would have his own wing.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever as big a fan of his as I am. But
I've always been
he's such a part of your history too, because you're a fan for 35 years and Taker's here 25 years.
I've been a fan of his work. I mean, the guy is.
I mean, you weren't buying a shirt or like buying his new shirt that came out. I mean, I don't know if you were that kind of fan where a new thing would come out and you'd buy it for a collection because you were such an Undertaker fan.
I bought the big throw that came out in 1993, I think it was, the black and white throw. It was the same time they came out with
that was cool.
Ultimate Warrior. They came out with a few of them, but